What's up, everybody? It's your boy Officer D back into the video. Before we get started, don't forget, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. Alright, if you ain't joined the Discord yet, go ahead and check that description box below for that link. Also check out the merch store, get some hoodies, t-shirts, something like that. Help support the channel. Alright, let's get started. So right out of FTO, they put me up in the north side area, right? Nothing happened in this area. It was like all traffic. That's all I did every shift, right? But on third shift, when it gets late, there's really nothing. So I would always drop down to the beat right below me, which has some stuff going. And I would typically try to do that. With this, I always had this route that I would go on. So when I would go down there, I would always make sure I go through this one area where there's this McDonald's. This McDonald's is known for having heroin overdoses. People coming in the back parking lot to start selling drugs, all types of stuff, right? So, I mean, there's a Walmart PVA, and then there's this extra parking lot for some reason that's right in the back of the PVA that's still owned by McDonald's. And no one should be back that far except maybe the employees' cars. So whenever we see somebody back there, you automatically know they're still sitting in the car, that they're there for drugs, or they're overdosed already. It's not uncommon to go back there and find somebody overdosed. Not uncommon at all. But that was my route. I would go down there and then start circling around everywhere else if there was nothing there. Well, when you're driving back in the back PVA back there, there's this fence, like this wood fence, that goes down like towards the exit. And you can't see around the fence unless you get out of your car and walk around, or you're exiting, like leaving out of the PVA, and you're about to make a turn. So every time I always look back there just to make sure there's nobody back there. I don't typically walk back there because I don't like cats, and it's always a lot of damn cats back there. So I'm like, I'll just look for my car. I'm not going out there. But as I'm about to leave the parking lot, I see a guy back there. So I'm like, And this fence is like an L shape. It's like shaped like this, right? And this guy was like in the corner right here. So you can't see him until you're leaving out of the parking lot. So I threw my car in reverse. I get out, as I'm getting out of my car, he comes from around the fence. He's eating some McDonald's fries, and his pants are like down to his knees. And they're like unbuckled and stuff. So what are you doing? Nothing. Why are you back in the fence? Don't worry about it. Let's see, that's where we gotta differ, because I gotta worry about it. It's kind of my job. So we're talking, and he's not really giving a reason as to why he's back there. So I started asking for information. I started asking for his name, stuff like that. After asking for his name, he's like, I'm not giving it to you. I don't need to. I'm like, well, you kind of do. Now, at this point, I ain't been a police officer long. So my knowledge of, can I be making this guy right now give me his ID based off what I got? That was very low knowledge. And I was going based off, I think I can, right? So I started adding stuff up, like in my head, like, you gotta do this like really fast. I'm like, all right, you're in the back of PVA, a lot of heroin overdoses, you're kind of hiding behind a fence, your pants are down. What's going on? I'm gonna get your name, right? And then you're not wanting to tell me your name. That adds on to your reasonable suspicion as well. So he decides he's not gonna give me his name. So I'm like, all right, well, you're about to go in cuffs, so I figure out who you are. Fight is on from there, right? And we literally go from like the back of this fence all the way up around the fence until like the front of Walmart PVA, and everybody's out recording and crap. Well, I still wasn't 100% comfortable with the policy yet and understood our policy on use of forces, and I only threw one strike, right? Now some agencies don't even like you throw strikes unless you've been struck. This wasn't more of a him fighting me, this was him trying to get away, right? So we go up and we're going up towards the front of McDonald's, and he throws something into this car. And there was two people sitting inside the car. So I'm like, all right, that's enough. So I fucking tackle him to the ground. And then I throw one punch to the side, I believe. I think one punch to the side. And he's like, all right. So I just stay on him until I get somebody else there, right? And then about two or three other cops show up, and we get him under arrest. Well, I get what's out of the car. There was some drugs he threw in there. I remember exactly what it was. There was some drugs. And then he had an extraditable warrant from another state for drugs, and I believe probation and parole violation, something like that. So good arrest, right? Well, after every use of force you have, A supervisor will come and talk to you, ask what happened. They'll talk to the suspect, ask what happened. You know, they got to do a packet on it and send it up the chain of command. Supervisor comes talk to me. I'm like, I already don't remember what happened. Like with the use of force. And for your first time, you do it. Sometimes it goes by so fast that you don't remember it, right? And that's something else that you got to start thinking about when you're like getting into stuff with these people. Like, you got to remember like what you did. You don't got to be exact, but you got to kind of remember. Like, they're gonna ask you for a number. How many punches did you throw? Or how many times did you hit him? Where'd you hit him at? You know, stuff like that. And which hand did you use? Which leg did you like? They want to know the specifics to everything. But they send up chain of command. Basically, what happens is, or my supervisor writes the report up, sends it up to the captain. The captain looks at it, gives a recommendation. The captain sends that recommendation to the assistant chief. Assistant chief looks at it, gives a recommendation, sends it up to the chief. The chief is the one that decides, in my department, whether this use of force was like necessary or not, and what could have been done differently, right? And after every one, you'll typically get back this paper that'll be in your mailbox from the chief saying whether it's justified, non-justified, and then he'll do a comment on it, right? So I get the paper back about 2 weeks later, and it has justified on it, but then he says, look over your use of force policy, start throwing strikes, right? Because you don't want to be out here just wrestling around people. That's how you get hurt. That's how they get hurt. You just wrestle around because you start wrestling around and start reaching for stuff. No. So that was definitely a learning experience for me. And that whole time, I'm just going through like, can I be doing this right now, like legally? So that got me more into like wanting to know, like looking more into case law, just state law, stuff like that, period. So I know what I can and can't do, because when you start getting into a situation, and then when you're in a situation, you start like, should I even be in this right now? It's too late, because you're already fighting this guy. So knowing that from the beginning will help save a lot of time, all right? But that's my story. That was that first one. It goes by so fast, like so fast. But it seems like it takes forever. It really wasn't that long. My backup got there in about 2-3 minutes. Not long, but when you're in it, it seems like it takes forever. But anyway, don't forget, like, subscribe to the video, leave a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. Join that Discord. Hit that merch store for me, all right? Help support the channel. I'll see you next time. Adios.